This is the best time to start reading Berserk. Berserk is known as one of the most important mangas of all time, a dark story about betrayal, revenge that inspired many others to come after, a piece of foundation of what dark fantasy is, a mark in the industry of good storytelling, inhumanly perfect art, an example of world building, but also known to be an example of manga fated to never end, even before the author's tragic passing. From the very beginning, we see a disgusting, perverted world, and from that, we learn the tragic birth of our main characters until a point where the story starts flowing in a slower pace. We see relationships being built through years. The golden age of Berserk feels like a distant, ideal memory of what is truly gold, retold by someone who was very harmed by the world they lived in. A gentle and kind, yet firm and sinister moment of peace in a literal hell of a world. The world is first presented as the dark and chaotic place it is, so an almost immediate view of a dear time is a recipe for tragedy. Guts and Griffith's rivalry is the key emblem of this story. A dark and humble figure like Guts being placed at the side of a heroic, epic, and sometimes divine presence like Griffith made one of the most amazing dualities in fiction, and for that to happen in the most horrific of stories states what real friendship is. It is both a curse and a blessing. Union starting, developing, and being demolished by this wild ride we call a passage of fate. One of the biggest plot twists of all time, and still the single thing that made me shiver in despair while reading anything in life. A world is built and demolished in 15 manga volumes, to the point where readers can't understand how and why this story would stretch longer than it already did. It is then that Berserk turns itself into what is known for a revenge story. We have an already destroyed main character that keeps getting bashed and mutilated by this horrible world he lives in. Yet, he doesn't give up. He stands tall and decides the one who wins is the last man standing. And to me, this is effectively the moment Berserk starts. It is when Guts decides to struggle, and he truly opens up to who is dear. There is a very specific moment with a character that may be considered a passersby that sums up Guts' defeat. Kodo, a blacksmith responsible for Guts' most powerful weapons, become a mentor to him, right after the most tragic of events, and his family takes care of what is left of the band. Filled by his rage, Guts loses sight of what is truly important to him, leaving behind his humanity, in the very time they needed him the most. Kodo tells him that his forced solitude made him fragile, that forever battles but will eventually fail alone. Kodo passes and left a fatal nick on the sword that is Guts himself. Guts became a literal berserker, an uncontrollable beast, now with a thematic armor that deeply tested his soul and scarred his body. The world keeps getting bigger, the few people left are still with him, one way or another, and as he gets stronger, the world around him gets twisted. New faces become familiar, we see numerous characters' arcs developing what would become his new friends, his new band, and when you barely see it, 33 years of publication have passed, and our hero's journey is still not over. Yet, he is not the same. A lot has changed until the last chapter produced by Miura-sensei. It ended on one of the biggest cliffhangers of entertainment media, a cliffhanger that showed to many of us who followed Guts' story the true purpose of this story. Berserk is an action, horror drama, seinen manga that faces many things: political discourse, religion, hatred, violence, perversion, but it challenges all of these topics and discusses them like no other work. It is one of the darkest, most disturbed produced stories made by man, yet its creator ended it with a message about hope, love, and true humanity. Guts' story is far from over, but it is okay. The moment where Miura ended his work, it showed the real energy behind Berserk. His final message, metaphorically or not, was the best one a man could ever give. Kentaro Miura was born in July 11th, 1966 in Chiba, Japan. He started drawing manga very early in the age of 10, making a school publication of his first series. In high school, he befriended his lifelong friend Koji Mori, mangaka of Holy Land, and they started slowly working together on projects to get to shonen magazines. At the age of 18, he worked as an assistant to George Morikawa of Hajime no Ippo. With him, his capabilities were strongly acknowledged and was dismissed, being told that there was nothing he could teach that Miura did not already know. By then, Miura had a dark warrior with a massive sword already in his personal portfolio. At the Art College of Nihon University, he published short projects that awarded him an award. Later, in 1989, his most famous and successful work, Berserk, started publication in Hakusensha's monthly Animal House. In 1992, it was renamed to Young Animal, where it continued serialization to this day. Berserk was working into different medias. In 1997, Miura supervised the production of a 25-episode anime by OLM Inc., and in 1999, a Dreamcast game called Sword of Berserk, Guts Rage. In 2002, he was awarded with the 6th Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prizes for Berserk. Starting in 2006, he started a series of frequent and often extended hiatuses, which were already a sign of what was to come. The next decade would be dark with inhuman dedication to his work, to the point where it would cost him his life. As of 2021, Berserk had collected 41 tankobon volumes, the last one being released with his last chapter after his passing. Miura passed away at May 6, 2021, at the early age of 54 due to acute aortic dissection. His death was publicly announced on May 20th, with many respectable homages by names related to him, the franchise, and the industry. By then, Miura had 50 million copies in circulation, making it one of the best-selling manga of all time. After his passing, Koji Mori, his best friend, published a small one-shot memorial manga to their days together and how important Miura was to his life. It is a very impactful story, and as a Berserk fan, we not only understand the importance of him to his friend, but we can put ourselves in his place and feel how important he was to Berserk and how impactful Berserk actually is to each life that consumed said manga. Mori, together with Studio Gaga and Young Animal, announced the continuation of Berserk, respecting original material and his late friend's wishes. You guys can read the full announcement on the description, but the message is clear. They won't overstep the material Miura left. No adding, no removing. The work will be done by Mori and the team, especially because of their years together and the fact that apparently he is the sole person to know how it actually ends, told by Miura before his passing. 2 chapters, 365 and 366, will be published with a special cover as the manga returns in the 13th issue of Young Animal on June 24th, 2022. This arc will finalize in 6 chapters, having a new arc released after it. Not much information is available beyond the announcement, but I felt heart and passion from the team. I personally wasn't expecting a return and already had accepted the ending as the official conclusion, even with the cliffhanger, but as it was stated since his death, the team was still considering a return. I said to myself, this is it, this is the most incredible story I've ever witnessed, and it changed me forever. But if they decided to honor his wish, even knowing it wouldn't be the same without him, I'd respect it and read what they offer us. Especially because of the context of what happened, Guts and Casca's path, and what that cliffhanger would mean as an ending. To me, Berserk is a story about struggling. Recent years were not generous to me. The past decade was a test, challenged by this wild ride we all call the passage of fate. But I too found my peace. Even considering I'm not where I want yet, I thought, never again. Never could I watch the sun set and be this calm. Never again could I sleep the night through. I lost friends, family, I lost myself plenty of times. I made mistakes, I felt sorry for myself, I almost died multiple times out of my lack of determination. But through Berserk, some other manga, anime, and games, and the ones I hold dearest, I found I could stop pretending to be something I was not. I accepted injustice's existence, but struggle against it and will continue to do so while I live. Because in this world, no matter how hard it is, in the end the winner is the last man standing. Berserk is a part of me because it deeply represents my state of revolt, yet at the same time shows me that no matter how cruel this world is, things will settle. Wounds will become scars and heal, but leave a mark. Marks like this is what makes life worth living and gives value to what matters the most. And this is why this is the best time to start reading Berserk.